This is Bishop Samuel Blakes, and you're listening to Real Talk with Mary J.
Happy Merry Monday, everybody. Welcome to Real Talk with Mary J. Real Talk with Mary J is a social outlet for a positive outcome, and we are so excited that you stopped by to share with us on today. Listen, we've been celebrating International Women's Month all month long, and we've had some powerful women that we brought before you all month long. We went from speaking about handling your business, how to handle your business credit. And then we came forward with all of what we do as it relates to women. Guys, listen, we talked about living the good life. And on today, I have a special guest that is sharing with us. She is a businesswoman, a prolific preacher, a pastor teacher. She is a CPA, anointed and chosen for such a time as this. We're talking about single women on today, single women, wisdom and wealth. Let's welcome to the show on today my special guest, Pastor Theodora Moten. Welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I am wonderful. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I am so happy to have you to share with us today. So happy that you're here. I know it's going to be such an amazing show. I look forward to all of the information that you have to share with us on today. But before we go any further, why don't you go ahead, Pastor Theodora, if you don't mind, will you tell everybody who you are and all of what you do?
Yes, I'm first of all a servant of the Lord. I'm just so grateful to be in the service of the Lord. I've been preaching for about 30 plus years, and I pastor the House of Red Ministries Church in Austin, Texas. I say the best church this side of glory. I have a Master of Business Administration with a specialization in finance, and also a certified public accountant. And so my hands are busy, and I wear multiple hats like most queens. And so I am so grateful once again to be here. I specialize in working with small to medium-sized businesses, nonprofits, as well as for-profits organizations.
Wonderful, wonderful, Pastor. I don't know if I hear some humming. I'm not sure. Do you hear it?
I don't hear any humming, but I should probably listen. Maybe I have everything turned down, and I can listen through another device, but I don't hear any humming at all.
Okay, okay. Well, if you don't hear it on your end, then we're good. I just hear a little feedback. But thank you so much for being a part of Real Talk with Mary J and just taking time out of your busy schedule to share with us. I'm so excited because we've been celebrating International Women's Month for the entire month of March, and I am elated to have you to close out this month for all of our women all around the world as my special guest sharing with us. You were such a tremendous blessing for our Women of Treasure virtual conference as you shared with the women as it relates to generational wealth. And so, listen, you're back with us, sharing with us again. Yay! I'm happy to have you. And we're going to talk about on today. And listen, I'm excited to share for the subject matter as it relates to single women.
Mhm.
Single women. We're talking about single women, wealth and wisdom, Pastor Theodore. So listen, single women, wealth and wisdom. As it relates to single women, we just
Mhm.
want to just take that for a moment and have that
Mhm.
to just gel with that for a little while.
Yeah.
Single women. I am single.
Yes.
You're single. We're
Yes.
both single women. And
Yes.
I believe I can say single and satisfied, right?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, owning where we are and happy to be where we are in this season where God has us to be. Doing a whole lot more at this time where we can juggle ministry, family, business, whatever we have, whatever God puts at our hand to do in this
Mhm.
season of singleness, we're able to get the job done.
Yes.
So I've been married before. I am a divorcee. Been divorced for it's been some years now. I think 10 or 11 years maybe.
Okay.
But even transitioning into this stage of where I am, just resting in my singleness and understanding where I am in the season and what I have at my hand to do. Finding myself in the season of singleness to put my hand to so many things that God has entrusted in my life,
Yes. Yes.
able to focus on it and to get those things done. So, Pastor Theo, how about you as it relates to your singleness, where you are now and what you're doing? Can you speak on that?
I can. I would say that this is my second time being single, I should say, because I have been married before and am divorced as well. It's been many years. I'm trying to dig back probably 10 plus years, give or take as well. And it's been a journey. I do believe the scripture that says all things work together for good to for those who are called according to his purpose. And all things are not good, but they can work together for our good. And I learned so much and have learned so much and am still learning so much. I enjoy my singleness as a woman of faith. As a matter of fact, if I'm honest, I have to sometimes be very intentional on not enjoying it as much because I can just be so happy. And I do practice, and I don't say this kind of in a braggadocious way or anything, but I do live celibate in terms of that. But I can be so into the things of God and comfortable that I have to remind myself that you are still open to marriage, like you want to, and so I have to remind myself and be intentional in that regard. But I just believe that wherever we are in life, there is so much that God wants to use and pull out of us, and that can only come when we rest in Him. And that's whether we are married or single. We must rest in Him. We must have Him as a priority. And so, so that's a little bit about my journey.
Yeah, so that's a beautiful thing too. I laugh when you said enjoying it a whole lot, right? Enjoying
Right.
it much. And so we do have that in common. And I was not aware of that when and having you to come on the show. What I did know that you are an amazing woman of God, a beautiful woman of God that is just so poised and etiquette. And you have such a grace that is on you and a glow that is on you, and you walk in such a level of authority. And I just believe that iron sharpens iron. And so I too am divorced. I've been divorced 3 times. So I think that's why I pretty much can say I'm lonely and I like it. And God has me writing this book right now. And it's not so much of being just lonely, because that was just the beginning stage of it for me. Of course, now that I've reached a place in my life and I've journeyed in God where He had me to really like where I am and being single. Now, does that mean that I never want to be married again? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I always say, when you know who you are and you know whose you are, you can have those things that you desire. And so I'm not one of those that just sit back and say, well, I'm done with men. No, I'm not done with them, right? If God
Right. Right.
sends one my way that is anointed for me, that I know that I can partner with, and help, to be the help me to carry the vision. And we have to be able to be there for each other. Now I look to not just marrying where I am, Pastor Theo, but marry where I'm going, where I'm headed. I see where God is sending me. And so now I'm very particular. I'm very strategic in this thing. This is not no game, right? And
Yeah.
this is something that I know that I want to do for the rest of my life, if it be the right one for me. But I know now that I'm wiser, that I know where I'm going, because I once had someone tell me a very profound word, and that was, Mary J, you married where you were, girl. You did not marry where you were going. And I didn't see it, like I see it now. And so that's why I can be satisfied in this thing and not be, what I see so many women searching for a husband and looking for a husband, and wanting a husband. But know that it can be your desire, but it has to be your desire within your season as well. Am I right? We have seasons to this thing, and a lot of times we be desiring, a person that's not even in the season where we're set, where we're headed. And if we're looking for a husband, and searching for a husband, we're so busy. And I see so many women, when I say we, because I'm speaking on behalf of all women, and
Yes.
I don't exclude myself from it, but I understand that, I know that he's gonna find me. I don't have to look, right? I don't have to search, that he's gonna come and find me. So I'm so happy to hear you say that as well, that you're satisfied. You're so busy being satisfied in
That
what
I
you
have.
and what you're working on. That's a good thing. But Pastor Theo, I'm getting, I hear a little feedback.
I do hear it now. I didn't hear it before, but I hear it now.
Okay, it sounds like it's a little muzzled, and I'm going to make sure that everybody gets all of this good content. So let's just make sure that everything is powered down in the mics and everything. Yeah, because I don't want anybody to be distracted, because I already know what this show is about. Yeah,
Yes. Is that better on your end? I think it's a little better on my end.
I still hear, okay, let me say this. When I start talking, do you hear it
A,
muzzled?
li- a little bit. Yes, I do.
Okay, I'm not sure where it's coming from then.
And I've adjusted even the volume over here just to make sure that um, the enemy is always trying to cure these little hiccups. Is that any better for you, or is it better?
It sound more muzzled.
Really? Oh my God! You want me to? Um, I guess I
If
don't know.
you have another device, can we make sure that volume is all the way down on it?
All the way. Well, I don't have any other devices going where the volume is up. I just have this laptop, and essentially that's the only volume. That's the only mic. That's the only thing that is connected. There's no other volume anywhere else.
Okay, well, hopefully that when they get it across the airways, that they don't hear what I'm hearing as much. So we're gonna keep it going, because what that is all about right now.
Yeah, and
But
I hear a little static when you're speaking. I hear a little static. We do know what it's about, though. We definitely know what it's about.
yeah, of course, that's it.
But
So
I
we're
wanted to
gonna.
chime. No, go ahead.
No, what were you saying?
Your screen froze just a little bit, but I wanted to chime in on something you said that it was so amazing, and it's something the Holy Spirit spoke to me. I don't remember exactly; it's been many years ago, and I was studying, for something ministry wise, and of course I began to look at that scripture in Genesis when it talks about that. There was not a helpmeet found for Adam initially that was compatible. And the Lord began to speak to me, Pastor Mary J, and said, it's not so much only about compatibility, it's also about comparability and the idea of being comparable. You mentioned about someone said, you you connected with where you were and not connected with where you were going. To me, that's what the Holy Spirit had mentioned, and that is, as women, as single women, we have to be in a place of understanding when or however God navigates things in our life to bring people in our life. We have to be discerning enough to know, is this a comparable situation? And by comparable, it can come across and it can land, certainly not intended to be, but it can land as though it's kind of a haughty statement. Is someone comparable? But really, you're talking about your destiny, your future, what God has called you to do. And it really is, you look across the table and you have to ask, is the person I'm looking at, and same thing for that matter when they're looking at you, are they able to go with me in my future? And so I think that's important. The other thing you mentioned that blessed me, and I was happy to hear it, and thank you for you mentioned that. You said, I didn't even know that about you, Pastor Theodora, that you were second time, so to speak, single, having been divorced. And that blesses me, and I say the same thing about you, woman of God. When, as women, as single women, you can carry yourself in such a way that though you have history, you don't have to wear that history. That history can make you better. And so I'm happy to hear that when people meet us, that they don't meet our hurt. They don't meet our the last time that, as a matter of fact, they may not have even known that you had that history. And so that blessed me. I can't hear you. Hold on.
I'm sorry, I turned my mic off just so I can make sure that it wasn't feeding back too. There is no residue, no residue at all, and that's when you know that God walked you through this thing. We're not carrying the baggage of hurt or shame, or bitterness. We're not carrying that type of baggage. And what we're coming to do is to walk in what God has given us, and walk in it and with such grace and such humility, right? And to go in and empower other women to be the best version of themselves and what God has called them to do. I said before, there's so many times, and I'm not being insensitive to women. And I know women probably say, well, you've been married already, Mary J. You've been married. But even when I was at that stage, I never went searching. I never went looking for a husband. As a matter of fact, if you want to know the real truth, I thought I had to be married to be in partnership because of ministry. Back in the 90s, when I got called to preach the gospel, that's what was, you needed a covering. You needed to make sure that you were partnered, that even pastors had to make sure they had wives before they can pastor. So that was one of the reasons, one of the issues. So it wasn't that I went searching for it or looking for it. It was what I thought that I had to have in order to do this thing that we call ministry, and to be undergird in ministry. So what God showed me was, that's why he gave me this message in the book that I'm writing, I'm Lonely and I Like It, is to teach women that you can live a single life, a life of abstinence, as you and I both are living, refraining from sexual activity, refraining from the lust. Now, not that it doesn't come at times, but we know that we have to be to put our fleshly members under subjection. We already know that we have authority over our mind, body, and soul. And so that's what I'm Lonely and I Like It is all about, because I didn't know for many, many years that I can be single and abstinent, for many years, because I've been married all my life. Like, what other way is there? But now that I understand where I am, and I've matured in the things of God, and I understand that my future and my destiny is calling me, and you can't walk this thing fumbling, right? You can't step out in this thing and be tripping and falling up and be attached to all of these ungodly soul ties. So that's why I'm on this journey. of abstinence. And that's why I preach it and I practice it and I teach it and I empower women to live set apart from it. And if they just, slow down and pause for a moment and look back at their life and see what the pattern was. What is the pattern to your lifestyle? See what mistakes you made along the way and how can you break that cycle. And so you can bear witness to this. And when we break that cycle off of generations,
Yeah.
right? We break it off of generations. So yeah, as it relates to being single and walking and then owning it, can you share more with us for our women so they can have something to hold on to, Pastor Theo?
Yeah, I can. And one of the things I would say, Pastor Mary Jane, is that living this single life, it is a gift. I say it is a gift. And a good gift, and we know that He's the ultimate giver, a good gift gives you all of the accessories you need to go along with it. It's almost like, you get a gift for Christmas, and isn't it one of the most frustrating things to open that gift and find you need four, D batteries, and you don't have it in the gift? And what am I saying? I believe that Holy Spirit, when we are single women and aligning our lives with Him, He includes in the package everything to go along with that gift. And to be very honest, I'm not suggesting that, like you mentioned a second ago, that we are still women, and might I add, very beautiful women. We are still women and very beautiful women. And even with that, yes, you can have like, oh wow, you feel something. But I have to honestly say that this gift of singleness, what God gives us to us as women, if you're listening to this or if you're looking at it on the replay, I want you to know that God will give you everything you need to go along with that singleness. And part of that is where it's no longer a struggle. Now, I'm not suggesting that we're not women anymore. I like men. I like men. That's clear. But God can give you something to give you what you need to with that gift while you are in that singleness. And as a matter of fact, I believe that when the Lord sends you your partner, you might have to pray, say, okay, Lord, you turned it down. Now I need you to turn it up, because He gives you everything you need. And as single women, when you get rooted and grounded in your purpose, there is a fulfillment. And as a matter of fact, if you go on my page, and this is true, I not don't say it from a self-righteous or anything like that. It is true. When I got ready to do a Facebook page many years ago, and you know how they ask you like give a little caption about yourself. And one of the things I put there is a worshiper, because nothing quite moves me the way He does. I'm going to say that again. Nothing quite moves me. And when as single women, we get in that space that nothing and no one quite moves us the way He does, then you'll have peace in your singleness, and He'll give you that gift. So, yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. When you're in that space, and I saw that caption on your page. As a matter of fact, I believe it was added to your bio that we shared with the conference on online. So and that is such a blessing, to know that you can be at that place and nothing quite moves you like He does. As a worshiper, as a woman of God, as a woman that is led by the Spirit of God. I always refer back to the scripture, and we know this is real talk. This is not ministry, but what's in us flows out of us, of course. But I'm reminded of the text where it says, when I was a child, I thought as a child,
Mhm.
I understood as a child.
Mhm.
But now that I'm a grown woman, okay, I put away those childish things. And so now I understand that it is not just wanting those things that I desire as it relates to whatever the flesh desire, but understanding that I am in control of it. I am in control of it. And we have to take authority over those things that will come toward us, that will cause us to stumble and fall. You have to be mature enough to say, hey, listen, this might be fine right here, right? This might be good looking. He might have everything that I desire, but is it gonna cause me everything that I have? Is it worth it? And what I mean by that, Pastor Theo, not just material things, not just, financial wealth or gain or any of that, or whatever the anointing that God has placed on my life and on your life, but is it going to cause me my soul of all of these attachments, and trying to break away from all of that, to get untangled from all of those ungodly soul ties, because I was there. I was in that place. I was in that place in my life where I was single, and I was soul tied, and I saw that I had to break away from that. I had to break away from that because I saw that it was not good at all. It was nothing that I desired for my life. It was not a place that I ever wanted to be. It wasn't even equally yoked, right? And I found myself settling for what I thought was supposed to be something, but was absolutely very shallow, very nothing at all. And so that's why I can talk about it in my book. I'm lonely and I like it, because here's when the real test come, Pastor Theo. When you are with somebody in a relationship and it's everything that you desire, but then when the testing of time comes, then put up or shut up, right? What are you going to do with that, right? So we play with fire, and we know what happens when we play with fire, right? And so there has to come a time where we're mature enough to understand that, okay, I gotta think down with my head. I gotta think a little bit more clearer on that. I just can't be moved by my emotions. So that's where we are today. And that's where I'm hoping that so many other women can get to that place where they can deal with this and be able to resist this temptation, resist the lust of the flesh, resist just wanting and wanting a husband. I heard Pastor Lady Lisa, Elder Lisa say, if you need to be married, you don't need to be married, right? And that was so on it. If you need to be married, and I find so many women feeling like they need to be married, and if you need to be married, you don't need to be married. So thank you so much for sharing that with us as it relates to our singleness and understanding where we are as single women, because I find so, and that's why this is entitled Single Women, Wisdom and Wealth, because a lot of times I find that single women, as it relates to financially being secure, financially blessed, or just having a mindset to be goal driven, to be ambitious, and to make sure that you have your money lined up, and that you're getting the things that you need, and we're not just being frivolous spenders and spending money on handbags and red bottom shoes, and nothing is wrong with it, but something is wrong with if you need that so bad that you have to attach yourself to a man so you can feel validated and having these things, or feel like you need a man to get these things. And that's what I see so many women stumbling in the area of financial security. They feel like they need a man to do this, or if they had a man they can get this done or that done. But there's some things that we just have to rise up and begin to work out for ourselves. Can you share on that, Pastor Theo?
I agree, and the reason I say that is because many times when, as single women, or even as married women for that matter, when we are seeking someone else to provide financial security for us, it is because we don't trust God. And I know that sounds like a simple principle, but there's so many things that are tied to distrust of God, and not trusting God, and that's one of them. And when we walk out our purpose, and we know that when we are aligning ourselves with God, everything about our lives. And it's not perfection, but certainly intentional. We know that, listen, God, I know you are my source. And that really relieves the other person ultimately that who God may send in your life. They don't want to have that burden of that responsibility of just feeling that weight, that you're not going to be okay, and that your whole trust is in them. No person who is reasonable wants your trust to be in them because they know that they're not God and it's not possible. And so, I mean, there's a couple of things we can talk about. I don't know if you want to go into it now, Pastor Mary J., but certainly
Yeah.
some of the things relative to wealth. And I always like to start in a different way because so many people, men, women, not just women, but men as well, are struggling financially. And sometimes when you start talking about wealth building, it seems like such a distant goal. It looks like it's just something that's so not attainable. It doesn't even feel close. And so, I begin to think about today and some of the things that I would say, even for the person who feels like, listen, I can't think about wealth building because I'm trying to think about paying bills right now.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of things that came to mind. And one is, they're all simple principles. One is to just start. As an accountant and traveling with different clients and working at their office, I see, the whole gamut of risk taking from those who are risk averse and those who are very apt to take more risk in their business endeavors. And what I have found is, and I'm not talking about being frivolous or being just irresponsible, I should say. But what I found, those clients who take the risk, they always end up on top. And what do I mean by that? You have to just start. That's one of the things I would say. Start. You may feel as though you're poorer than Joe's turkey, as they say, Joe's turkey. But you have to just start. And what do I mean by that? There are things in your life. As women, I don't care. We're going to make sure we have our nails, we have our hair, we have different things. And then you have to ask yourself, even though I feel like wealth is so much out of my reach, what can I do now to adjust right now, even if it's adding $25, $50 on my credit card minimum payment? If I'm right now making just the minimum payment, you would be surprised when you look at amortization schedules and the exponential way that just adding $25, $50 to your credit card payment can help you and shave 2 or 3 years off of your repayment term. There are things you can do to start. You can get take it right now is probably not as good of a time because the Fed is raising interest rates, but you can take advantage of it on the flip side. Maybe you're not, and understandably so, not taking out new debt, but certainly the debt that you have, you can just add some amount to that monthly payment to assist yourself to be better positioned financially. And then you have to decide, what can I live? And women, we're so creative and so beautiful and so smart. I mean, we can take something and make it look like it's red bottom and it's not. You have to be very creative in what we do because we have to be focused on where we're going. And I think that's a keen and an intentional focus. So the first thing I would say is that we have to start. You just have to start. I don't care what it is. You have to start. And then the other thing I would say, you have to strategize. You have to make a plan. And I want to gently ask, you can put it in the chat or just ask yourself and reflect on it. Do you have an actual plan of wealth building that is drawn up, that you read and revisit and follow daily? Do you even have a plan? You want the end result, but do you have a plan? And it doesn't have to be long and elaborate. You say, we're so busy, you don't have time. But you need an actual plan. And what is that plan? Would it include? It would include, how can I reduce expenses in my life, spending less? I'm going to give you a few little ideas that, you can kind of use if you like. One is to track your spending. That which you track, you usually spend less of. One of the problems is that we spend and we don't even track what we spend. Once we start tracking, you start to say, oh my God, this is what I'm spending. One of the things, tracking your spending, making a budget. Consider going to cash only, not closing out your credit cards, obviously, because that would reduce your credit score, but going to cash only. Maybe you create yourself an envelope system where when you put so much money in there for gas or groceries each month, that is your envelope. And once that's gone, or your extra little things you do as a woman, you once that money in that envelope is gone, you know it's like your minutes years ago on cell phones. You used to have only so many minutes.
Right.
Turned over at the first of the month. And I don't care if you didn't want that overage charges, it wouldn't matter who called you on the 31st or the 30th. You were very frugal until those minutes turned over. So those are the kinds of things, some of the things, and I could go on, but strategize, start. And the other thing I had here was, of course, finding your sweet spot. And what do I mean by this? This is important. I can't emphasize this enough. Find your sweet spot relative to wealth building and income and expenses going on in your life. What do you mean? Some people have found their sweet spot now I'm not telling anybody to leave their job, but some people have found their sweet spot in leaving their job. They had lost revenue, but when they did that, they reduced their child care expenses. They reduced their income taxes. They also reduced their health care costs, and they became eligible for various programs, even if on healthcare.gov. And they netted out that though they were making so more money before, but once they added the child care and all the things that would now be absorbed because they would be at home and figuring out how to work it. I'm just only using that as an example. And that is that you still have to find your sweet spot. And then one of the last things I'll say, and I know we want to get into some more discussion, and that is to secure an estate. You got to start, you have to strategize, you have to find your sweet spot, and then you need to secure an estate. What do I mean? You have to start owning some things. And maybe I'm preaching to the choir, so we don't want to disrespect anyone, but we have to get out of the mindset of renting, and I'm not just talking about real estate, just anything. We've got to get into the mindset of ownership, because I begin to think about the people of Israel. I'll end with this. One of the things and reason God consummates his covenant with Israel through the delivery of land is because you're not even a real people, a real nation, unless you own something. And so he consummates the covenant with Israel by the distribution of land. And it's something about ownership that gives you, and I'm not saying we find our identity in things, but it gives you that settledness. And so not living paycheck to paycheck, savings and things like that. And we could go into other things. But anyway, Pastor Mary J, you tell me what do we have next?
Listen, you've covered so much as it relates to wisdom and wealth with the S, to just start. A lot of times we find ourselves not just wanting to start, not thinking that we can start, but we use what we have, right? You use what you have, and you have to start from somewhere. I was just laughing just the other day. I was telling one of the ladies that wants to start her own podcast, want to start doing some things from home. I said, girl, there was a time when I started in the bathroom. I remember God telling me to wake up one morning. I think it was like at 3 a.m. and I didn't want to wake up anybody else in the house at the time. And I was like, oh my God, he told me to wake up and start praying, go live and pray for the women, go live and start praying. And I went into the bathroom, like with my phone in my hand, So you just have to start, because if you always keep thinking about how you're going to have this and where you're going to get that from, when you start, you already know where there is vision. If he gave you the vision, he's going to provide it for you. He's going to give it to you. He's going to give you the insight and the know-how. He's going to put those people around you to add to you. He's going to provide those resources. So I love it, to just start, to start somewhere, just if he has given you something to do, our women must get out there and do it. Got to get it started. That's good stuff. That's good stuff, Pastor Theo.
Yes. And to strategize and get yourself a plan. find your sweet spot, because sometimes we're making money just to spend money. And if we're working and getting all of that just to create coverage of an expense, we have to figure out, maybe I can live without that expense. And if I can live without that or live without that revenue, which would ultimately eliminate those particular types of expenses, then if the net is kind of like, now I have more time to do maybe what God has called me to do. And I still feel like I'm in a similar position as I was before, because as we know, sometimes with a lot of revenue comes a lot of bills. And so you've got to just, I guess the point of that is to strategize. We're certainly not telling anybody to go out and quit your job tomorrow. That's not what we mean. We're just saying put it on paper, and then you've got to figure out how to stop renting. And renting is not just real estate. It is, how am I living my life? Am I living my life paying a premium? Because that's what renting is. It's paying a premium. Am I living my life paying a premium? Or do I have ownership, which means I get economies of scope and economies of scale? So just, you can apply that in whatever area you want to apply it in, just the way you manage your grocery bill or whatever. So it's not just about the actual ownership of something versus renting. It's the fact that renting it relates to paying a premium versus ownership. You get the economies of scale and the economies of scope when you are willing to take the risk, because the owner has the risk of failure, but also the risk of success. When you're renting, and use it as an example, if something goes wrong with the pipes, you can call the landlord. But when you own, and I don't mean this again in just in real estate, but you bear the brunt of the risk on the downside. But here it is, when you own it, you also bear the pleasure of the upside. So, yeah.
You definitely, yeah, for sure. You bear the pleasure of the upside of it when you're in the position, because you're in control of everything. So owning it means it's yours. It means it's generational. You can pass it down to the next generation, next person in your family, or whoever you deem to have it. And and that's one thing that I told my oldest daughter. I have three children, and I told them that is something that I desire to do, is to make sure that each one of them have, that I can leave it for each one of them. And so that even when they're older, in their older ages, and they don't want to live there, they can rent that and have that additional income coming in while they are, moving on and settling in life, to have that stream of income. So it's always best, always best. You said something when you said, we don't track it, and that is so true. We're not tracking our spending. I came across that, and I shared that in one of the books that I've written, entry about writing it down and making a list and writing. And I went back to looking through as many times if I have gone and gotten my nails done, my daughter's nails done, and look, and when I saw all of the money that I was spending, I said, oh my gosh. And not only just spending for the nails, but tipping too, very nicely. And I realized that this is ridiculous. This is like a mortgage, for some people. I said, oh no, we're gonna have to make some adjustments in this area. But when we don't track it, we don't see it. And so that's so good that you brought that point out. When you don't track it, you can't see it, and then you continue to spend. But when we see it in front of us, we can make those necessary adjustments. And that's why, as you stated, we have to be strategic. We have to strategize and come up with a plan. Good stuff. Good stuff. We're talking about single women, wisdom, and wealth as it relates to just settling in our singleness, understanding who we are and whose we are, and that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. We're not desperate, right? We're not desperate. We're not just, oh my God. No, I'm going to say that again, ladies. We're not desperately seeking. We're right. We're not desperately seeking, but we are settling in our season. And when that season and time comes, you would know. You would know. And so, Pastor Theo, all of what you shared on today as it relates to single women, wealth and wisdom, I thank you for sharing a wealth of information to just imparting us on today. Before closing, are there any last words that you would like to share with our audience on today?
I think I would just probably pitch my tent, Pastor Mary J, on that singleness, because we talked about three things tonight. We talked about singleness, and we talked about wisdom, and we talked about wealth. I think I would just pitch my tent on that single women aspect and becoming truly content in His presence. Because I believe that when we pursue His presence in that manner, we will have the wisdom ultimately that we need, because it'll be a gift. He'll give it to us. And then I believe that, honestly, He says the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just. I believe that
Yes.
wealth will come as well. But if I am, if you aren't, or if someone else isn't, if I am not really having my life as a single woman aligned with Him, I could be bawling or whatever, but I don't have peace. I don't. There's a depression that comes along with making. And I've made my share of bad choices. Let me put both hands up. But there's a sense of depression that can
Yes.
come along with that. There's a heaviness when you settle. There's a heaviness when you operate outside of the will of God. There's a heaviness when you violate God. And what happens is, the longer you live this thing, you start to be very risk averse. In other words, you start to say, I don't like that feeling. Been there, done that, got a t-shirt. I know what the end of that. So you back that up and put it on the front end. It's like the rabbis of old said, to forgiveness is one level, asking God for forgiveness. Asking God for permission is a whole nother level of maturity.
Yes.
So I would just say, just rest in Him, allow Him to remind you. I allow Him daily. You don't want to do that, Theodora, because last time you did that, that didn't work out too well. And so just rest in Him, and you don't want to sit with that depression. You don't want to sit with that settling. You don't want to sit with that. You want to feel like you are, if the Lord called your name today, you want to feel like, I am so ready. I am so happy. I have lived well. Things have been well for me. And if the Lord sees fit, as I told you, sometimes I have to remind myself, oh, you're so happy, girl. You're so happy alone. Like this is not right. This is not good. It shouldn't happen. And so I have to remind myself, okay, you want to be okay. So I've got to keep myself open. So, but yeah, I would just say you're amazing. God's oil is on your life. And just remember to find your confidence and your peace in Him and rest in that, so you don't have to deal with the regret.
Yes, yes, good stuff. Good stuff. I'm so thankful for you to share so much of information with our beautiful women all over the world. We're celebrating International Women's Month all month long, and we understand who we are and that we're chosen. We're definitely chosen. Listen, I say we're so bad to the bone that God took us from the rib cage of man. We're not just the rib, but we're the cage that covers all of His vital organs, where His heart is. And so that's why we know that we're bad. We're fearfully and wonderfully made, and we're a force to be reckoned with. So thank you so much for sharing, Pastor Theo, with us. Will you let the people know how they can find you, how to contact you as well?
Yes, you can contact me in terms of ministry and preaching. You can contact me at booking at pastortlm.com. And so I would love to minister. I love ministry. Ministry is is really my first passion in terms of online at the House of Bread Ministries Church in Austin, Texas. We'd love to have you anytime we do remote worship services as well as on site. And you can look at one of the pages that I do lots of ministry and teaching on is All Things Worship, All Things Truth. And I just want to say a little bit something about that, because that is something that the Lord gave me years ago about, you find your niche. And those two things for me, worship and truth. And so you can go there as well. And would love to have you following and praying for me, etc. And I want to do the same for you as well.
Thank you so much, Pastor Theo. Blessings and favor to you, woman of God. I am so blessed just to connect with you. Iron does sharpens iron, and I look forward to so many amazing things forthcoming. We already know. And as I stated before, you were such a powerhouse for our conference, our women's conference. And I just want just to put up some of those photos from the conference as you shared with us, and amazing in the teaching that you shared on our generational wealth. There you are right here. Just a blessing, just a powerful blessing. And I just thank God for you and all that you imparted to our women of treasure for the conference as well. So we're looking forward to having you back when we come back again. I want you to come back and to also to share with us. And will you say a little something about this, Pastor Theo? Stuff still happens at the altar. I love it. And I know you have t-shirts. Talk about it for us as we close out for a minute.
I do. The conference, the Lord has had us in this theme, the altar theme, for quite some time. And so we started out with stuff happens at the altar. It was before the pandemic, not even knowing what would happen. And then we went through what we went through. And if we're honest, the whole world, we're all still going through it. And so the Lord reminded us after we came back in 2022 to do the next conference that stuff still happens at the altar. I don't care about what we've lost. I don't care about what has broken us. I don't care about what jobs went under, what is going on in the economy. Stuff still happens at the altar. And as a matter of fact, we're still going to be having, the Lord say the same, our conference this year again in August, again, the first weekend in August. And we have t-shirts. Stuff still happens at the altar. You can email booking at Pastor TLM. We can get you one of TLM.com, one of those as well. They're beautiful. It has a purple flame on it. And just to remind you of the fire of God within you.
Awesome. Thank you once again for sharing with us. I had a happy Merry Monday today. Did you have a happy Merry Monday, Pastor Theo?
I did, and thank you. I want to say, beautiful woman of God, spirit of excellence. Those who are watching, if you want to know how to do it, you need to watch and pattern and look at Pastor Mary J. and how she's moving. If you just need an example, she certainly is a great one. I've watched her, and I love the way she moves and handles business.
Thank you. Same here. Bless your heart. Thank you for sharing with us. Iron sharpens iron. That's why women need to get and rub elbows and stay connected to other women with kindred spirits and like minds. Thank you for sharing with us. Happy Merry Monday, everybody.